Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another JNM video.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Nick. And we're back at it today. We're going to be going through our all-star picks, all 64 players. We're going to be going through the whole thing, 32 for each league.
And making sure each team gets at least one representative.
Of course, that's how it's done around here. Let's go. Let's start off here with first base for the American League. Got some good players here. We're looking at Paul Goldschmidt, maybe, but we're going to be going with Jonathan Aranda having a very good season. 326 average, 8 home runs, 904 OPS. Yeah, I mean, the numbers really speak for itself. Really solid player.
For the
What's up?
National League, we do have some other options. We got Michael Bush, who's been solid. We got Pete Alonso, Freddie Freeman, Harper, even some other guys like Josh Naylor, Wilson Contreras out there. But the National League, we have decided to go with Freddie Freeman.
All right, moving on to second base. Ultimately, I think Jazz Chisholm Jr., if he wasn't injured, would be the starter. He was having a really good year before he got injured. He's been really good since he came back, but the missed time has definitely hurt him. And second base is overall a pretty weak position, though. I'm going to be giving it to Gleyber Torres. Really good comeback season, 279 average, 807 OPS. He kind of beats out all the other competition there.
Yeah, still can't count out guys like Willie Castro and Brandon Lau. They've been having solid years.
Yeah,
Moving on to the National League. Also kind of weak, Brennan Donovan. I wouldn't really count him as a second baseman. He's really been utility. Jake Cronenworth, the Crone Zone, can never be mad at him. Matt McLean coming off injury has been kind of bad. Jeff McNeil doesn't really have much playing time due to injury. Nico Horner's offense has gone down, but his glove is still there. Bryson Stott's been slow. Bunch of other stuff. Xavier Edwards, after a great last year, has been struggling. But overall, the JNN channel locked in Ketel Marte, Diamondbacks, as our second base pick.
yeah, I think that one's a no-brainer. He's up there in MVP conversations, to be honest. Now, moving on to third base. Alex Bregman was really good before he got injured, but the injury has kind of derailed his all-star selection here for at least starter. He's missed a decent amount of time. And I mean, another kind of odd position here. I think it's another no-brainer though. Jose Ramirez just got it locked up. He's having another typical season from him. I mean, just a great all-around hitter.
Stuff. Got a lot of guys. Yohan Moncada somehow has played well. In National League, we got a bunch of guys. Austin Riley has always been good, but a little slackish this year. Got some rookies in there like Matt Shaw. You also got Ryan McMahon, Mr. Consistent for Colorado. You got Manny Machado, who's been really hot recently. Alec Bone's been getting a little better. Arenado's been on a little swing streak. Same with Max Muncy. But overall, I believe Matt Chapman's probably the best option here. Even though he's had a little bit of time of injury, his fielding, he may be below Machado offensively, but his fielding is leads above the rest. Maybe a little close with Machado, but overall, I believe Chapman should get the spot.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think down in the comments because I mean that's a very close race here, Chapman versus Machado. Now, moving on to shortstop, we got a lot of good players here. Gunnar Henderson has really turned back into what he was last year. Neto's having a really solid year. Pena as well has really come up. Um, yeah, but I think it's a pretty easy selection here. Jacob Wilson is just having an amazing season, especially from a rookie, putting up a almost 360 batting average with 902 OPS. Yeah, just another no-brainer in my opinion.
Shortstop is a weird story. You got Mookie Betts in a little slump mode on the year with a 735 OPS compared to being an MVP candidate years past. Willie Adames always starts slow and always gets on hot streaks, so I expect him to get going after break. CJ Abrams, the gambling star, kind of been good, but his defense still slacks. Bogart's bad. De La Cruz, nice but streaky. IKF is IKF. I'd say Lindor is nice, but overall, I'm not going to pick Perdomo, not Lindor, not Swanson, not Tovar. I'm going with Trea Turner of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really know why Mookie Betts is second in voting right now. It's just the Dodgers fans showing up, I guess. He's not really having an all-star caliber season right now.
Yeah, popularity contest as usual.
Yep. All right, moving on to catcher. I mean, in the American League, guys, what can I really say? It's Cal Raleigh, big dumper. He's on pace to have one of the best catching seasons of all time, on pace for over 60 home runs. Nothing
Breaking
really more I can
record.
say.
Got
Yeah,
the record for the most amount of home runs by a catcher before the All-Star break, and a switch hitter, hitting 30, passing Johnny Bench. It's a great season.
yeah, just insanity.
Yeah. The National League, a little bit of a different story. You do have you guys at the top, but you got the middle. Remuto's been struggling. Jose Trevino's been great, but it doesn't have the playing time. The Ramirez rookie for the Marlins has been nice, but a little bit struggling on defense. Carson Kelly's been great, but he's carried by his April, which is usually how a Carson Kelly season goes. Hunter Goodman's also been great, but he kind of Coors Field tax sometimes every now and then. William Contreras has been bad, which is surprising because he's been consistent. Patrick Bailey is still a great defender, but bad offensively, even worse than before. Francisco Alvarez has really fallen off, becoming a target for Frank the Tank and many Mets fans. So in the end, we're gonna go with the man who has a reliever with his name, an actor with his name. I wouldn't say he's a Man in Black, but Will Smith is still a great pick for us.
Yes, sir. All right, so moving on to our outfield picks. There are a lot of good players here. I mean, there are a lot of good players. So, moving on to our first pick, kind of goes without saying here. Aaron Judge putting up another all-time season, probably on pace for one of the greatest right-handed hitter seasons of all time, if not the best. So, we'll put him right there as our first pick. Moving on, I think another no-brainer for a starting spot here is Riley Green, putting up another great season, 280 average, 17 home runs, 861 OPS. He's really been a key part of the Tigers' success this season. And moving on to our last starting spot here, we're going to give it to Byron Buxton, who I didn't even realize was having this great of a season. But he stayed healthy, and he's really a five-tool player. He's really speedy, great defense, and the offense has really come around with 15 home runs and an 892 OPS.
Finally healthy. And I want to make a note before I go into this. These aren't the outfield spots aren't really in order from like best to worst outfielders, just like the three outfielders. Of course, this Judge is the #1 outfielder, but moving on to nationally, there's a lot of options. Jackson Merrill's been good, but not as good as last year, and maybe a little less overall. Mickey Moniak's been getting hot. Dane Myers of Miami has somehow been good, just lacking playing time. Heliot Ramos, Andy Pages, Soto, Stowers, Tatis, you got Tucker, you got a bunch of players in the National League. Jung-Ho Lee, if he didn't get into a slump, same with Teoscar Hernandez. Austin Hayes in his minimal playing time's been good. TJ Friedel, Sal Frelick, but was our first one, the man who's been tearing the league, tearing the cover off the ball, dominating, becoming an icon in Chicago, Pete Crow Armstrong, one of the best defenders in the game. And speaking of Soto, Washington, D.C. got this guy for Soto, James Wood. Last year, the man could not pull the ball. This year, he is, and he has been raking. He's been dominant. He's been hitting the ball with his wood, pretty much. The last outfield spot, it's tough. There are a lot of close options, but I had to go to the desert for this pick as Corbin Carroll had to be a selection for this one. As the Diamondbacks have been a good offense, bad pitching, as been known for previous years. Including last year, they had one of the best offenses. Carroll's been great in year 3. Won Rookie of the Year his first year. Last year had a bad first half, but then raked in the second half. And this year he's continued on that hot streak from the end of the year. And it's just been great overall for the National League.
Yeah, this is a fun outfield for the All Stars right here. A lot of young players, exciting players. Now, moving on to designated hitter for the American League. It's kind of a tough pick here. Obviously, the Rafael Devers trade kind of skewed things a little bit. Ryan O'Hearn's having a really good season, who is ultimately who I will go with here. Ben Rice, who I'll have a video out on soon, is also having a really good year. He's kind of getting unlucky, so I think his numbers should be better than what they are, but I still think he deserves an ultimate selection as like a reserve. And yeah, I think it just goes without saying, Ryan O'Hearn, he's got the numbers. He's a really good player.
I remember when Polanco, not Posada, Jorge Polanco had 1,000+ OPS in the year, and everyone's raving about him. He has been in a slump. Jordan Alvarez been out, been doing it. Santander's been a horrible sign. Wow. Well, moving on to the National League in DH, Gavin Sheets has been hitting the sheets out of the ball. McCutcheon's been doing good. Ozuna has been doing good. Schwarber's been doing good. Of course, Devers hasn't been there long. It's been fine. Seiya Suzuki's been fine. But everybody knows who's going to be picked. It's, of course, going to be Nick Fortes and his 633 OPS.
Yeah, I mean, no
He's been
brainer.
great. He might be the best. Miami needs someone. But in all actuality, it's Ohtani. Everyone knows it's Ohtani.
Yep, that goes without saying. So ultimately, looking at my screen right now, these are our picks for the All-Star starters. Let us know if you guys have any other picks or disagree with us in any way. But ultimately, I feel like these are the guys that deserve it.
Yeah. Feel free to take screenshots of your votes and tweet them to us using the Twitter link in the description below, as we do now have a Twitter account for the channel. As we will be posting about videos, replying for baseball stuff, maybe other sports, just overall trying to interact with you guys. So feel free to send us your votes. We'd like to see them. Like to see how you did compared to us. And yeah,
All right,
move on to the reserves.
let's get it. All right, so for our first reserve here, we're looking at either Paul Goldschmidt or Vladdy Guerrero Jr. It's kind of a toss-up in my opinion. Vladdy started off the season pretty slow, and Goldie started the season off very hot, but it's kind of cooled off a little bit. I'm gonna give the edge to Paul Goldschmidt here, but we'll also have Vladdy as another reserve. They're both having really good seasons in their own respects.
Yeah, both deserving. Vladdy after getting that massive extension. Paul Goldschmidt being the veteran on a one-year deal. For the National League, first base was obvious, as the one that we picked could also be the starter. It's basically a flip-flop situation. Depends who just gets hot before the game. It's going to be Pete Alonso of the Mets, the polar bear.
Yeah, I mean, some of these picks are also kind of like projections. I ultimately see Freddie Freeman, his numbers rounding out a little better than Alonso come the All-Star game. Moving on to second base, we're going to have Jazz Chisholm Jr. I think he ultimately earns a spot on the All-Star team. Even with the injury, he's having a really solid season, almost an 800 OPS, with power, with speed, and versatility. He's playing third base and second base. So, with good defense, he deserves to be as a reserve for second base here.
National League, we all know the starter would have been Marte, but the backup, similar to Jazz, doesn't only play second, as we chose Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals, who has been a WAR grinder every year of his career. Is constantly getting 3 or 4 WAR per season, even more. And he's basically a utility guy, but mainly second base, and he's been hitting solid around like 750 OPS every year of his career, and like continuing it on to this season to earn a spot on the All Star team.
Yeah, you guys gotta learn his name. He's very solid, underrated. Moving on to shortstop here. I think it kind of goes without saying. I got Bobby Witt Jr. as a reserve. He's putting up an amazing defensive season. The offensive numbers have dipped a little bit, but he's still putting up a very respectable season. And then to account for the Angels' one pick here, we're gonna put Zach Neto, who is also having a really good season. We're not just throwing him in there because he's an Angel. He definitely deserves a spot on the All Star team.
Yeah, he deserves a spot. He's just still below Bobby Witt, who's obviously a fantastic player. The National League, Trey Turner's been great, but so has Francisco Lindor, a man who's been robbed of All-Star games in the past, and this reserve spot will probably finally make Mets fans a little bit happy. They'll still probably be very mad about the fact that he's a backup and not the starter, but you just gotta respect Turner, but you still gotta appreciate Lindor at the same time. Great defender. The hitting's kind of been slow as late, but he's usually always a slow starter. So I expect him to be a lot better by the All Star game, and he's still good right now.
Yeah, it's about time Lindor gets an All Star game. He deserves it 100%. Moving on to third base reserves here. Alex Bregman I have as a reserve. He's obviously not going to play in the All Star game. I'm not sure when he gets back from his injury, and he has missed a pretty big chunk of time here. He deserves an All Star spot. And then who will actually probably be playing in the game is going to be Michael Garcia of the Royals. He's having a really good underrated season. I think he's batting 280 with 8 home runs. I forget exactly, but yeah, he deserves a spot. Really good season. He's in right spot in the Royals offense right now.
Yep. And for the National League, we do have two in this spot. As you will see, there's going to be two in another spot possibly down the line. And they're both not really power threats, but veterans of the game. Veterans who have a lot of career homers, possibly going to get a lot more. I believe one of them might have just hit 300 or is getting close to it, and the other one's over. One of them is Manny Machado of the Padres, who it has been good his entire career, from Baltimore to LA to San Diego. He's just been good, grinding, been a good fielder. Not perceived to be the best teammate, but San Diego that's improved. And this year he's been started off a little slow, but he's been getting hot. Got the double-digit homers recently, and he's been decent defensively. Has a nice WAR, and he does deserve the backup spot. Maybe his 870 OPS might even get him the starter spot if he edges out Matt Chapman. And Suarez has just been a power machine. He had that 4-homer game, the first one since I believe JD Martinez back in 2019. I could be wrong there, but Suarez has been great hitting the cover out the ball, maybe a trade deadline threat. Hopefully, won't get traded before the game, so this stays true, especially if he gets dealt to the American League. But he could also be a nice third base threat, a good possible DH for a team. Because he's not the best third baseman, he is serviceable, but there you could have a better option. But his bat definitely makes up for what it is. It's all power. It's basically a 3 true outcome: power, strikeout, walk. But he hits the cover off the ball.
For catcher in the American League, we're going to go with Alejandro Kirk. He's having a really great season, 300 average, 7 home runs. And the catching position overall offensively is pretty weak in the American League, and he really just shines out as the pretty obvious pick for the reserve.
This is the rare time where an historically bad team actually deserves to have an all-star. It's like it's not Jake Bird, who's also been good for them, but the Rockies get Hunter Goodman, who's the kid has been great as a catcher, hitting the ball hard. It's like they have other guys like Jordan Beck, possibly Mickey Moniak's been doing strong of late, but Hunter Goodman will get their spot as he's been a good catcher so far this year, and he's earned his role.
Yeah, I agree. So, on to our outfield picks here. We got three. I think for our first pick, I'm going to go with Javier Baez, having a really good comeback season. It seems like the versatility in his positions is helping him almost break out of his offensive woes, putting up a 290 average with, I think, around 8 home runs. I don't have the stats in front of me. I could be wrong on that. And yeah, he's putting up around 2.5, 3 WAR, just a really solid season. It's great to see him come back into form. For my second pick, I'm going Stephen Kwan, who is a really good player. He has a 3 WAR in the season, an offensive juggernaut, really. He's tough to strike out, always puts the ball in play, just a smart hitter overall. And for my last pick, I'm going Trent Grisham, having a really good season, batting 250 with 15 home runs and 830 OPS. He's been really good for the Yankees. Yeah, and really not much more to say about him. He deserves a spot.
National League outfield is pretty stacked, but it gets a little bit slower. Kyle Tucker, the former American leaguer from the Astros, sent to the Cubs, has been good for the Cubs, performing as expected, trying to earn a lot of money this offseason, possibly around a Vladdy Guerrero Jr. deal. And then next is Fernando Tatis Jr. The bat is not as it was previous years, but still up there, like near 800 OPS. The glove is still strong and is still getting the stats where it's needed. And my last pick is the young man from LA, Andy Pages. He was, from what I remember, very like angering Dodgers fans at the start of the year for his very slow start and his bad plays in the outfield. But he has pitched it up in a big way, slugging his way, hitting his way, playing his way into an outfield spot on the All-Star game roster.
And it almost seems like his beef with the Padres has fueled him as of late. He had a couple great games in that series. Now, moving on to the DH position. For the American League, I'm going with the man, Ben Rice, having a really good season. And yeah, I don't want to say anything to piss off Mets fans even more, but he might be the best number 22 in New York right now.
The best Dominican in New York, you could say.
Yeah, let's specify that a little bit.
And it also doesn't help anybody else that his expected stats are expected to improve. For a National League, this guy hasn't played there long, but he'd still be playing for the National League. Sad to say for Kyle Schwarber, but Rafael Devers has the spot. Schwarber being robbed, but sadly Devers got sent over at a terrible time. So, because Devers would have started for the American League at DH, but now he has to be the reserve for the National League at DH. But Devers has been great. He already hit his first bomb against the Boston Red Sox, and he was also the focus of our last baseball-related YouTube video. And yeah, he's been great. Let's move on to pitching.
All right, so starting the game for the American League, I got Taylor Skubal, and man, is he just a beast. He just goes up on the mound and he lets his nuts hang, man. And the numbers speak for themselves. I'll throw up the stats on the screen. I mean, he's just a dog. Now, moving on to the other pitchers that deserve a spot, I'm going with Garrett Crochet. He's right up there with Tarek Skubal, another absolute dog on the mound. Max Fried, Shane Smith, he's the White Sox player who we'll account for, and he's also deserving of an all-star spot, putting up a really good season. Hunter Brown, Ron Pepio, Chris Bubich, Jacob DeGrom, who I'm very happy to see back in the all-star game, and he's having a really solid season, a vintage DeGrom season, and Tyler Mahle, Tyler Mahle.
Everybody knows. Livy Dunn's boyfriend. You'll see the stats probably on the screen right now, or even just you can imagine his stats are great. Paul Skeens, the LSU god, the man that saved Pittsburgh from the depths of hell, dragged them up inch by inch, yet he never gets run support. The modern day Jacob DeGrom. He's just been everything you've wanted from a number one overall pick. The reserves, you got Logan Webb of the Giants, as expected, has been doing well. He's been the main focus point for their rotation. He's been a great consistent player. And you also got last year's Cy Young winner Chris Sale. Not as dominant as the year before, but still pretty good. And another great dominant pitcher from the same division, Zach Wheeler of the Phillies. Followed by Freddie Peralta of the Brewers, with David Peterson, who's having a great stretch of ball right now for the Mets. Mackenzie Gore, the strikeout god. Yamamoto from the Dodgers, of course. Matthew Boyd strikes in his spot somehow. The veteran who hasn't really gotten much attention. I remember back in the day when he was a big focus point of the trade deadline and just wasn't traded. And Andrew Abbott of the Reds, the young kid himself. And now on to bullpen.
All right, so for the American League, we got Andres Munoz having a really, really good season. He's been an absolute beast for the Mariners over there in that closing role. And then we got Josh Hader having another vintage Hader season. Really not much to say there. He's been shutting guys down. And then we also have Carlos Estevez, who in himself is having a really respectable season, low 2 ERA for the Royals.
For the closer for the National League, he may not be the most deserving, but the saves might help him in the fact that he's a closer. But he deserves the closing spot. Camilo Doval, especially after last year being demoted, struggling, he's been great this year in a bounce back year. Few rough starts, but not starts, but appearances, but overall he's been good. Edwin Diaz, Mr. Trumpet, coming out of the bullpen for the Mets, will be in the bullpen as well. He's also been good. And since Miami needs a representative, of course, Anthony Bender of their bullpen, he's been having a solid year. A sub 3 ERA out of their bullpen's been solid. Granted, he isn't really their closer per se, but since he's blown a save or two, but he's been a very good point of their bullpen. Now let's move on to the guys who may make it, or honorable mentions, or guys who will get as replacements. Starting off the replacements, we have the DH Kyle Schwarber of the Phillies, hitting hard, but sadly doesn't make the team.
Yeah, the Rafi Devers trade kind of screwed him there. Next up, we have Mookie Betts, who, like I said earlier, isn't really putting up an all-star season like he usually does, but to represent the city of Los Angeles even more than they already have, I mean, might as well put him in.
Yeah, Mookie Betts is Mookie Betts. Next is Tommy Kahnle, the man who drew only changeups in World Series, is now pitching well for the Tigers, putting up a very nice season.
Then we got Daniel Palencia, who's putting up a really good season for the Chicago Cubs, underrated player.
Then we got Carlos Rodon of the Yankees, doing good as number 2 pitcher for the year, striking a lot of guys out.
Next up, we got a man of controversy, Juan Soto. He's come up really good as of late. His numbers are definitely rounding out to be very solid. Nothing much more to say.
And then next is Mike Trout, because he's Mike Trout. Yeah.
Then we got a player here, Hunter Green, who is putting up a really good season, definitely deserving to be in the All-Star game.
Yep, and another member of the same division, Michael Busch, definitely deserves to be in the game, but doesn't really have a spot as of now.
Yep, and then on to TJ Friedl, who is having a really underrated season. To be honest, I didn't really even know he was doing this good until Jacob let me know. So we'll put him in there.
Yep, and then his teammate Elly De La Cruz has been hitting it hard as late, but his streakiness may hurt him in the end.
He's just a fun player. I hope he gets in to watch him. Next up, we got Matt Olson. He's putting up a really good season, 15 home runs. Nothing much more to say.
Drew Rasmussen, the starting pitcher, has finally gotten a good amount of innings after being injured the last few years. He possibly may get a spot.
Yep, next up, we got CJ Abrams, part of that Nationals core that got traded in part of the Juan Soto package. Really good season. Probably deserves to be an All-Star.
Yep, and then San Francisco outfielder Heliot Ramos, who was an All-Star last year, may deserve to have it again.
Then we got Seiya Suzuki of the Chicago Cubs, putting up a really good offensive season.
Yep, and then Jung Ho Lee, who's gone down as of late, like had a 960 OPS in April, struggled of late, but if he gets hot again, it may help him out.
What's an All-Star game without Bryce Harper? Throw him in. He's a fun player.
What about Ronald Acuna Jr.? He's also a fun player.
And then Jeremy Pena, like I mentioned before, he definitely should be an All-Star, having a really good season. I definitely think he should be one of the top players to get picked as an All-Star if people drop out due to injury or whatever reason.
And the tactical veteran of the Athletics, Brent Rooker, who's been helping lead that offense.
And then we got Junior Caminero, Tampa Bay Rays, having a really good season.
And then Spencer Torkelson having a great bounce back season for Detroit.
JP Crawford's been one of the bright spots in the Seattle Mariners offense this season.
Julio Rodriguez being a consistently average type of guy, but still putting up decent stats.
Yeah, defensive numbers definitely carry him a little bit. Then we have Joan Duran, who's putting up a really good season for the Twins as a closer.
Speaking of relievers with good seasons, Cade Smith of the Guardians is having a nice year.
Sadly, the injury to Luke Weaver definitely kind of hurt him a little bit to being an all-star, but I definitely think he is deserving to be a pick here.
Joe Ryan also may be deserving the twin starter, possible ace.
Then we got the youngster Chad Patrick. We'll throw him in there. 26-year-old's having a pretty solid season for the Brewers.
Yep, and another youngster, Spencer Schwerlenbach from the Braves, having a nice year.
Then we got Christopher Sanchez of the Phillies. He's definitely deserving to be in the All-Star game, having a really good season.
A man that really deserves the spot is Randy Rodriguez, the reliever of the Giants, having a very good sub-1 ERA in the year. It's just been fantastic.
Then we got another bright spot for the Colorado Rockies this season. We got Jake Bird, really dominant reliever.
What's an all-star game without Brewers relievers? Abner Uribe has been nice on the year.
And then we're going to throw up another Brewers reliever here, Nick Mears. They really just have a pitching farm over there.
Let's round it out with a guy whose expected stats are but his actual stats are nice. For last year's former all-star Kyle Finnegan, closer for the Nationals. And that will probably end the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts on our choices and who you think should be on, who you think should not. And I guess that's all. Have a great day and hope you enjoyed.
See you guys.